Hello and welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I hope you're betting on preseason action in the Arizona Cardinals tonight. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brock. It's the PHNX Cardinals live halftime report for Cardinals at Bengals. Bo, a little bit of an ass kicking by our Arizona Cardinals tonight. You'd love to see it.
Not too bad. Coming out of the gates, Trace McSorley dropping dimes like he does it all the time. Not too bad from your third string quarterback. You know, Ron Wolf, we said on the broadcast, the story of the game, as far as I'm concerned, you know, we kind of knew that McSorley was capable of this. He's not a stranger to playing in preseason games. He's actually been a part of that absurd 21-game win streak that the Baltimore Ravens have in preseason play. McSorley looking good at the end of the half. He looked good at the beginning of the half. So kind of capping it off, that big play to Andy Isabella. You have to be pumped about it. Andy Isabella, Johnny, when you really look at the more pressing storylines, you know, a guy that's going to try to make his way onto this roster, kind of make his way back into the good graces of this coaching staff and maybe get some PT. He came out of the gates with the first catch of the series of the game. He had the big 40-yard PI, and then he had the big 30-plus yard catch. You have to be very intrigued by number 17, Andy Isabella.
Yep, final seconds ticking down. So technically it's not halftime yet, but, you know, we were anxious. We're live. We're ready to rock and roll here on PHNX Cardinals. Greg Dortch looks the part. Certainly wide receiver 4 to begin the season, wide receiver 5, you would make an argument when DeAndre Hopkins returns. I think Dortch has all but made this team somebody they've developed for 2 years out of Wake Forest. Had the nice long, I believe, the 30-yard gain downfield. He's averaging almost 14 yards per catch in the first half. He and Isabella combined for almost 100 yards receiving. And listen, we thought that this offense was going to be talented enough to make waves here. Certainly, you've got Will Hernandez looking fantastic at right guard. But then I even tweeted it out. Harlow at center, they're super high on. Got a bunch of reps in the offseason with Rodney Hudson out. Josh Jones playing tackle and looking fantastic. I mean, their offense goes too deep at damn near every position, 3 or 4 deep in some instances. The defensive side of the ball, some positives, Bo, and some negatives. And I think, unfortunately, that's where we have to start. People are already pointing it out in the chat. Zaven Collins, Marco Wilson. I mean, they didn't really pop off the screen.
No, they didn't. I mean, Marco, the one time he was really targeted, it was a bad pass interference call that he wasn't credited with, but it was clearly him, and you looked at it on the telecast. And then Zaven Collins, you know, he didn't really flash. You really didn't see him. If you were paying attention, if you were following 25 on the broadcast, you'd see him kind of get picked up by number 63 on a couple plays. He did get in on the tackle on a kind of a third and long situation where they were in a little bit of a soft zone coverage, and he got in on the tackle, but he was pretty far out of the play. They were just trying not to give up a first down on that play, but I mean, they really, the 2 second-year players that this defense is going to rely heavily upon to take a big step this year, those 2 players left a lot of want from this fan base. We're going to need to see something in week 2 of the preseason against Baltimore from those 2 guys.
I at least have seen it with Marco Wilson. Again, I bring up the example going to Cleveland last year, D'ing up Odell Beckham, starting damn near every game as a rookie, being very competent, 4th-round pick. I think the more concern you have is like, Zaven Collins just right now, he looks timid. He looks like he's indecisive. He does not look like a player playing with his hair on fire. And you know, you were texting me before we jumped on, like, are they going to have to sign somebody? Are they going to have to bring somebody in? Because there is no Jordan Hicks anymore. He went to Minnesota. Right. He got gobbled up days after the Cardinals released him. Isaiah Simmons is a safety. He's a star player. But he's playing in the back 7 mostly. Maybe they'll put him back at inside linebacker if he becomes dire enough. But it's Nick Vigil and Zaven Collins right now for better or worse. And right now it's looking like for worse. And again, we're not trying to overreact after a quarter of preseason football. But I used this example on our show the other day. If you missed it, like Darrell Washington is a 2nd-round pick in his first preseason game. You just popped off the screen. Zaven Collins, the only game he's ever popped was when he was playing outside linebacker against Dallas last year. So, Bo, I'm with you. I don't know how you don't go into the free agent market and peruse around like a Dante Hightower and start working people out. You know, Anthony Barr just got picked up by the Dallas Cowboys. That would have been an interesting name. But you can't go into the season with a player like this that's so indecisive when teams know that you're susceptible against the run. They're going to come right at you.
Yeah, it's really intriguing that he didn't get more PT tonight. That they weren't just going to let him
Yeah.
work out his whatever the reason is for the timidness. I see a lot of people say he looks lost, and I don't disagree with that. If you're an Arizona Cardinals fan right now, the confidence that you have a 3-down NFL caliber linebacker on this roster has got to be like low, zero, close to zero. Like there's
1%.
nobody right
Yep.
now that you feel confident is going to go out there and is going to be able to play sideline to sideline and pick up those assignments that are necessary to play that position at even like a reserve level right now.
Oh my God. Like the Eagles beat writers are tweeting out that nobody can block Nakobe Dean for them. And he's got 5 tackles in the first half. And the Cardinals have been trying to find that since Carlos Dansby and Darryl Watt. It's been like 10 years.
It's the different regime, Johnny. I mean, I think Steve Keim, we found another position that he's brutal at drafting. I mean, he's drafted Kevin Mentor in the second round. He's drafted so many guys in the first round at the position, and none of them have shown to be big time players. Like when you look at Los, when you look at Darryl Washington, that was Rod Graves.
I have to give Cheerson a shout out because all of last year I bitched to her that I wanted Zaven Collins to play. And she's like, he's not better than Jordan Hicks. And she was right. And now they don't have Jordan Hicks. And now they're kind of stuck here. And like, you're going to have to play him better or worse. You're going to have to see what he can do over the course of 17 games. But you got to get a contingency plan, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, who is it going to be? Because everybody I've talked to from Minnesota told me that Nick Vigil is a 2-down guy. I mean, he is. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be out there for 3 downs. You've got Tanner Vallejo. You got a couple other guys that, more known for their special team prowess. It's concerning. I see somebody saying we're overreacting to Zaven. It might be so. I mean, maybe the coaching staff saw something completely different and they felt comfortable pulling him. But, I didn't see anything that I feel comfortable with. I want to see him against the Baltimore Ravens come out and ball out. It's gonna be important for this linebacking core, and then of course the corners. That's where you're gonna also want to see somebody step up at that position. Marco didn't. I don't think he answered any questions today. So we're gonna have to wait another week and see what he can do in week 2 of the preseason.
But the difference, like Marco is going to play because they need corners, and you have to have a bunch of corners. We talked about this at nauseum. Like there's going to be 2 linebackers starting for this team, sometimes only one. Who is that going to be? I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that teams are calling the Chicago Bears about Roquan Smith. Do you pick up the phone and give Chicago a call after this game? Let's talk about some positives, Bo.
Sure.
I don't want to harp on those 2 guys. Rashad Lawrence, Lecky Fotu looked great. I thought the entire defensive line played really well. Cameron Thomas, Maze Sanders, I hope they play more in the second half. Cam Thomas looks the part as a run defender. His strength is apparent. Maze Sanders had a rush throwaway. So right on schedule with where you hope there be. Josh Jackson, you just mentioned, had a pass breakup. It's really only Zaven and Marco where you can say like, that's not ideal. Everybody else, I mean, offensively, how can you not be impressed with the infrastructure that Cliff Kingsbury has built? Say what you want about him, late season head coach. Like, number one, he can coach quarterbacks. Trace McSorley. Bruce Arians never developed a young quarterback like this. Certainly Ken Wisenhunt could never do this. Like, Trace McSorley has come in and made a case, whether or not you agree with this or not, to at least be in the conversation of being the 3rd quarterback. I don't know if they'll carry one, Bo.
Sure.
But like, he is young enough and has enough upside and went to a big boy Big Ten program that some other team could talk themselves into him being their backup. And if I'm the Cardinals, it's a premium position. I don't know if you let another team steal him away from you. I
mean, if it's going to come down to, adding depth to the cornerback room, linebacker room, or, this trio of wide receivers that are making a tough case for Cliff Kingsbury and Keim when they start to build this roster, the 53, maybe you don't have that luxury. I mean, we know that depth was a big key for this team down the stretch, and they fell short. You sometimes just don't have the luxury to carry 3 guys. If you can sneak them through, fine. If you carry him on the 53, that might be fine. He's going to be inactive on game day anyway. You get in the high 40s there. But, you didn't even mention the guy who got lost in the shuffle. We just kind of became overcome with wanting to see these 3rd rounders play so well. But then there was a guy from last year's draft class with 2 sacks in the first half, and Victor Dumakaji, the lost man, number 52. You saw him all over the field. Very encouraging in a spot where somebody needs to step up. And so far, for 1 half of football, Victor Dumakaji, the 6th rounder out of Duke, you have to like what you saw.
Yeah, did not expect that. He's not a name we even have discussed at nauseum because it's been Devon Kennard and Gardeck and the rookies, and we're infatuated with what's new and shiny in front of us. And Victor just comes out and kicks ass in the first half. You love to see it, and I tweeted this out. Vance Joseph, say what you want about him. He's always been able to get edge pressure. And I think if you're concerned like I am that they didn't replace Chandler Jones, number one, Chandler Jones, outside of his 5-sack game to begin the season last year, had 6 sacks the rest of the season. Cardinals might be able to get that. And then some from this group of these young pass rushers that they have. I am very bullish with what I saw as a whole from the defense, keeping them contained. They have a freak field goal kicker, does Cincinnati. Otherwise, this game, they wouldn't even have 9 points at this point. And then the Cardinals, they were gifted that one possession with the fumbled snap by Cincinnati, but they drove the length of the field numerous occasions. Just watching Cliff and the offense that he has put together, the infrastructure he's created, everybody just feels comfortable in the roles. The offensive line looks great. You've got, again, receivers making plays, tight ends, and they're so deep at so many positions. I'm very bullish. Cliff Kingsbury, play caller, year 4. Obviously, this is cliche to say. We're going to get the best version of Cliff this year. I just feel like he is at the top of his game right now, not only on this preseason, but what we've seen Bo out of camp.
Yeah, and you saw a different look. We saw a lot of under center. It was talked about a ton on the broadcast, but then you saw a lot of similar things. We see this offense get it close and then have the ability to punch it in. We saw the new kind of offensive line addition, as you mentioned, Will Hernandez. Great look at him. I was surprised to see how much he played in the first half. I think he's ready to go. Just say, hey, nice job. You look good. Back under your old college coach, Sean Kugler. You look like a starting right guard in this league. I can't believe we saw as much as Will Hernandez as we did, but don't look now. There's depth on this offensive line. Will Hernandez, he's going to start. You've got, 3 returning key veterans and DJ Humphreys and Rodney Hudson. Hopefully he gets back healthy. And then you've got Justin Pugh. You've got good continuity there. You've got some youngsters like Josh Jones, and you've got a guy like Sean Harlow who's emerging. It's like this. When was the last time you had this much depth and continuity across the offensive line?
Let's go with never and start from there. I would say Harlow got all those snaps when Rodney Hudson was out, kind of debating retirement in the offseason. Josh Jones could start for this team tomorrow at either left or right tackle. I know somebody said he gave up a sack. I think that was more running into a sack, but I'm a big Josh Jones fan. He looked fantastic blocking downfield. And then you met Will Hernandez. The Cardinals rescued him from the New York Giants. The New York Giants, they're ineptitude. They're bottom 3 NFL roster, carousel of coaching and GMs. Will Hernandez said, I'm going to come here and be with my college head coach and Sean Kugler from UTEP, our college offensive line coach. I'm going to be where I'm more comfortable. He's Hispanic individual heritage. He would go to Arizona. He's from Las Vegas. He just is more comfortable here, and you can tell he is not a liability. I think Giants fans wanted to believe Cardinals are getting some liability to the position. We saw liabilities last year at guard, and Will Hernandez does not look like that. And then Harlow, everybody and their mother has been telling me Harlow's had a phenomenal camp. Yeah. He's somebody to watch out for. Maybe he becomes the heir apparent to Rodney Hudson. I don't know. But what I do know, Bo, my DraftKings pick of the week, I have to cheat a little bit. But I doubled down. I said Cards money line on bets today. Cha-ching. I believe the Cardinals are going to pull this out. And then I had the over at 30.5, 32.5. That's hitting or is going to hit. So DraftKings Sportsbook app. I love gambling on the preseason. I love gambling on the NFL. If you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use that promo code PHNX. Make your first deposit, get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code PHNX, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See those show notes for details.
Good balance from the Arizona Cardinals on offense, 221 yards. Just looking at the stats, first half stats, no turnovers. There could have been one. McSorley had a ball that should have been picked off, but then they forced the turnover in the first half. Time of possession, they win that. So, really good start to the preseason for the Arizona Cardinals. We're not sitting here and we're not just going to overreact to things and start to, say that, Trace McSorley is the GOAT and he should be taking up Colt McCoy's second, backup role. We're not here to do that, but there was some really good takeaways from this first half. Yeah, this was Lucetta out of Penn State. Was he a 6th or 7th round pick for the Arizona Cardinals this year?
He was a 6th round pick and had a nice pass breakup. Or are you talking about the linebacker?
Yeah, number 43 for the Arizona Cardinals.
7th round pick, and then the cornerback, who I can't name his school, 35 wearing a
Valdosta
Neosol number,
State, yeah.
and had a nice pass breakup.
Yeah, Christian Matthew out there, him and Josh Jackson, guys that wear those gloves in practice, a little too physical. One resulted in Antoine Wesley's injury. Those guys looking pretty decent. I mean, that's you got to find some depth there. We talked about it. DeAndre Breaker was brought in, former first-round pick for a workout. We'll see if maybe he's an option going forward. Still could be in play. But yeah, you have to be pretty excited about what you saw from this Arizona Cardinals team. This second half, Johnny, what are you looking forward to?
I would love to see Keontae Ingram run over some people. I still contend. Jonathan Ward, he had 2 touchdowns. Awesome. He also averaged 2.5 yards per carry. I think Jonathan Ingram has a much higher upside. For our guy DA, who knows him personally, has worked with him, done some individual workouts and training with Keontae. I want to see him run over people. I would love to see him get in the end zone himself. The Cardinals 4.2 yards per rush in the first half, very even keeled. I would like to see Trace McSorley play the entire third quarter. Why the hell not? I mean, it doesn't hurt anything. And then you play what's his name in the fourth quarter. So to me, keep the offense going, foot on the gas. There's no downside to playing the Isabellas and the McSorleys the entire third quarter, because you're either showcasing them to make a roster spot, or you're showcasing them, in Isabella's case, hopefully to ship their ass to another team.
Yeah, absolutely. Jared Garantano from Washington State, that's your 4th-string quarterback. He's going to get the other reps if it's not McSorley coming out here. Still can't tell. He doesn't have his helmet on, but the Bengals are going to get the ball here to start the second half. You're going to see a bunch of running backs outside of Ingram, that like a TJ Pledger or Ronnie Rivers, but those are guys that are going to be contending for maybe a return spot. I want to see more Victor Bolton Jr. Saw a little bit of him in the first half, but yeah, and then somebody to show up on the cornerback side of things and just see some good pass breakups, maybe a pick from somebody that we're not talking about enough, and kind of forces the issue here.
Want to remind everybody, COVID-19 vaccines are free for everybody 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also eligible for a booster. We're going to be having a ton of quality events, fun tailgating events. We just announced this season, every home game, we're going to be hosting a tailgate event. Come hang out with us, but don't be sick. Don't be coughing and sneezing in everybody's face. Try to be healthy. Get a COVID-19 vaccine. They're free for everybody. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location nearest to you.
We've got a Flavoring Life sweepstakes. Our friends over at OGeez is giving you a chance to win 3 bags of their gummies. Plus, you can get a PHNX shirt or hat of your choice and a PHNX annual membership. All you have to do, check the show notes for the details, or go to gophnx.com. You can enter to win. Also, check out OGeez online, OGeezBrands.com, and Instagram at OGeezBrands. You can find their products, your local dispensary. You must be 21 years or older to purchase.
I would love to see one of the third-round picks flash in the second half. I would play Cam. I would play Majay for the entirety of the third quarter. And frankly, I would love to see some of these young defensive linemen continue to play. I think they played themselves into shape in the preseason. Cardinals have their starting defensive line set. So if you're Rashad Lawrence, if you're Likey Fotu, trying to knock somebody off their pedestal, trying to get in that starting lineup. And then in the secondary, I mean, Josh Jackson, I think, Bo, you've talked about him ad nauseum during training camp. Some days he's the best corner the Cardinals have outside of Byron Murphy. I think he's all but made this team with a strong showing tonight. At the very least, he's going to be CB3, CB4. You probably have to, at this point, sit him. And now you're kind of looking who else could step up. What are you looking in the secondary for the second half, and potentially after today coming to another move in the secondary?
Yeah, you want to see Christian Matthew and Jackson continue to play, and they're going to get heavy snaps just to kind of get more PT, and because they could down the stretch be big time players for the Arizona Cardinals just because of necessity. We saw Manny Jones, who is more known for his Kyler Murray impression, make a big play up the middle for the defensive line. And, Brian Baldinger told you, Johnny, a couple weeks ago at the Red-White scrimmage, he thought this was a sneaky good defensive line. And I think they proved that in the first half, and they're starting to prove it in the second half already. There's just guys who are big, take up space, can move individuals around just by force. And you have to be pretty excited about that. But and we're going to actually get just because of how, I guess, I don't know if you say injury riddled or just the inability to get your key players, your star players on the field. We're gonna see some more of the guys that we saw in the first half here in the second half, including like Greg Dortch, and that's got to be exciting because it's guys we've been talking about all week.
What else is exciting is if you like, subscribe, leave this podcast a 5-star review. I ask everybody right now, please like this video. This is the first time you find us. Awesome. We're here every single Cards game. We're here 5 days a week. PHNX Cardinals live podcast, 4 p.m. Again, check us out. GoPHNX.com. Become a member. 99 cents for the first month, $8.99 for the subsequent months. Bo and I are going to tune in for the second half. We hope you do the same. We've got an audio-only podcast dropping tomorrow, breaking down the rest of the game, as well as what could be on the horizon, Bo, for this team come Monday and Tuesday of next week. If this prompts any kind of move, I expect the Cardinals to get this W. Fingers crossed. Hopefully more Trace McSorley. It sounds like Keontae Ingram is in, so I better run back to my TV. Quick thank you to the Pickleball Kingdom yesterday. We had a good time out at the Pickleball Kingdom with our PHNX
Tell him, Johnny.
family.
Don't be
had a
modest.
fantastic day. Your boy, first time playing pickleball, got bronze. Beat Bo by a percentage point, BCS rules style. 7 wins, 4 losses, beat 6 wins and 3 losses. So in all seriousness, fantastic time. We love our sponsors. Hopefully Pickleball Kingdom maybe join in the ranks with 4 Peaks. Drink responsibly. We are back on maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday of next week. But until then, everybody enjoy Cardinal football, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.